Today, I'm joined by Lauren Allison, a wedding photographer, storyteller, and creative soul who splits her time between the mountains of Oregon and the deserts of Arizona. With a passion for people and a field-driven editing style, Lauren doesn't rely on presets. She edits purely based on what looks and feels right in the moment. In this video, she shares her first experience using Polarr Next and gives us her honest impressions of how AI editing fits into her intuitive workflow. Before we jump into the interview, hit the like button and subscribe if you want more Polarr Next content on your feed. Let's get into it. Hey everyone, welcome back to another video interview. Today, I've got photographer Lauren Allison all the way from two places, Oregon and Phoenix, where she splits her time, but I'm gonna let her introduce herself. Lauren, go ahead and take it away.
Yeah, I'm Lauren. I go by Lauren Allison .photo on Instagram. I'm a wedding, elopement, and portrait photographer. As Aaron said, I split my time between Phoenix and Bend, Oregon. And yeah, I've been in the photography space for a while, just shooting like grads and engagements and all of that at first. And then I worked for a newspaper as a photographer for a little bit in college, and then shot my first wedding right after college and really dove into the wedding and elopement space. So now I kind of do it all. But
Okay, that's great. I like hearing that aspect of being a news photographer. Do you feel that you pull a lot of things from like shooting candid and kind of like being in the moment, you know, covering a story as a news photographer versus like what you do as a wedding?
yeah, I think shooting for the newspaper really helped me in the wedding space because I got to really just be in the background and learn that kind of documentary style approach to things. So that definitely carries over. And I think about that as I approach wedding days for sure.
Nice. All right, so let's take it back to the origin of Lauren Allison photo. So was photography always something that you were passionate about? Where did you get that first spark to kind of pursue it in your life as a career?
Yeah, my sister was always into photography and cinematography. So I would steal her old T2i, like Canon
Oh,
Rebel
wow.
line, super old camera. And I would always steal it and take pictures and didn't even know how to export them at the time. And then as I started to learn, I upgraded to like a T7, I think. And that's when I started doing portraits and really taking it seriously and doing couples and all of that.
Nice. Does she take your cameras now that you have like newer equipment and get to use it? Or
She she has probably better equipment than me now, so she's got her own
wow,
stuff. But
that's cool. So does she do photography as well? Like both of you guys in your own different genres?
yeah, she does it on the side. I don't think she does it super seriously, but she definitely still shoots, and her husband shoots a lot. So
Wow, that's really, really cool. Okay, so getting on with the T7. So when you started taking it seriously, did you do it because you felt like there was a real strong career with photography, or you just like the aspect of like news and, you know, working for a newspaper?
yeah, I really liked photography, and I always wanted to do it at least as a hobby. And then when I started booking a lot, I was like, wait, maybe I could do this more as a full time or a career option, and
Hmm.
started just building slowly. And then at some point, it took off enough that I could do it and really like pay my bills off of it. So
I like that. I like that. So let's talk about kind of like your style of photography, editing, your look. How would you describe it?
I would describe my style as pretty true to color, but leaning into the warm and rich tones.
Hmm.
I'm very inspired by like trees and mountains and nature, so I try to bring those tones into my editing.
Okay. How about this? If your editing style were a movie or song, how would you describe it?
Um, I think I would describe it like the Lumineers, maybe, or like Hosier. That
Uh-huh.
makes sense. Like
Yeah, yeah,
very
yeah.
earthy and like the stomp and holler kind of. Yeah, like
Okay.
that. Yeah, that's not a song, but
The stomp in a holler. I like that. When you said Lumineers, I was like, oh shoot, I don't know who that is. But I'm so glad you went with the second choice as well. So I feel like, okay, now I can kind of relate. What did you get started in editing photos? Like what programs did you use?
yeah. Well, at first I didn't even know editing software existed because I
Uh-huh.
was like 10 years old with a camera. And then when I very first started, it was like the iPhone app. If you open it on your Mac, there's quite a bit you can do. And so I would do that at first, and then I launched into Lightroom pretty quickly, and I've been
Mhm.
using Lightroom ever since.
Okay. And along with that journey of Lightroom, presets, did you, buy a lot in the beginning and then kind of like morph one into your own distinct vision? Or did you just kind of do things on your own and took it from there?
I did buy a couple of presets when I first started in Lightroom because I didn't know that you didn't have to use them.
Hmm.
And I didn't like any of them. And so I never bought any others, and I would kind of create my own. But I know this is a little abnormal for photographers. I don't actually use presets at all
Okay.
anymore. I just know what I like and kind of what each tool looks like for my style. And so I just go in and sort of create a preset for each lighting condition
Hmm.
in my gallery. And then I like copy and paste my edits and kind of adjust from there.
What's like the biggest non-photography skill that's helped you grow as a photographer?
Um, that's a good question. I think, I mean, I feel like the business side of things for sure, being able to market and all
Hmm.
of that. But even more than all of the business side, I'd say like just interpersonal skills with clients and how you interact and pose and all of that really has helped me grow a lot in learning how to communicate visions with clients.
Hmm. Would you have considered yourself always as an extrovert, or do you have some sort of introvertedness inside, or how does that work out for you?
I think when it comes to photography, it's like where I thrive, I can really be an extrovert and need to be, but I would say I'm pretty on like in between introvert and extrovert in my personal life, but
Yeah.
I can like really turn it on when I need to, which is helpful for photography for sure.
Before we jump head into Polarr Next, like give us what your workflow is like when you return from a wedding, sit down at your computer, pop that memory card in, take us from like importing photos all the way to export. What's that like?
Yeah, so in a traditional wedding, if I have the time in the timeline, I really try to actually export and cull a little bit while I'm at the venue so that I can
Nice.
have like 2 or 3 photos edited for the couple as they go home. That's always my goal. It doesn't always happen, but
Wow.
if it doesn't happen, I promise 24-hour sneak peeks. So
Hmm.
either way, I'm like culling immediately after the wedding or during the wedding.
Hmm.
Um, and if I do it during the wedding, I don't necessarily back up my photos because I'm just trying to get a couple out. But if I don't do it during the wedding, then I come home, I like pop in those cards, I'm backing them up twice on different hard drives, and then I'm taking them into Narrative Select and culling through them. And I cull through everything at the same time. And then I export those into Lightroom. And then I
Hmm.
also kind of cull in Lightroom. I do like a second, like more fine tooth comb cull. And then I start editing.
Nice. And if there was something that you wish could be improved about your workflow, any bit of that, like what would that be?
Well, one thing I like about Polarr Next is it eliminates my exporting from Narrative to Lightroom. So
Hmm.
having that just streamlined would be great. And obviously, Polarr Next does that.
Hmm.
Um, and I mean, I think that's the biggest thing is not having to go to multiple programs just to
Hmm.
make it a little faster. And then I like the keepers in Polarr Next, which I'm sure we'll get into later, but
Yeah.
that's super helpful, especially if I'm at a wedding to have them pull the
Mm.
photos for me instead of having to go through and find the ones that I like, because that would just speed it up.
Before we switch it over to the screen, you have had some experience over the last week using it. I want to ask, and for those who are watching, I say this like every interview. We try to like get your guys' raw feedback. I know for like a deeper review, using Polarr Next over a couple months will definitely yield some more in-depth kind of stuff, but we're also really looking for like those first impressions. So kind of like a gut reaction when you first opened Polarr Next. Like, how did you feel? What was going through your mind?
Yeah, I mean, it looked very similar to Lightroom, so
Hmm.
that was helpful to be able to kind of already know where things were.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I really liked the way it culls. I really liked that. That was my first impression, and then yeah, just going in and seeing what the differences were and what the similarities were between Lightroom.
we've got a couple projects loaded up, but I'm gonna go ahead and let Lauren kind of take the reins and bring us through what she's been up to.
Yeah, so I just pulled in like 1,000 photos from this that had some different lighting conditions. This
Mhm,
is not like a full gallery necessarily, um, but I think it's analyzing the keepers
mhm.
right now.
It's great that you have experience with narrative. Narrative was actually like the last culling program that like I went from aftershoot to narrative, and I loved with narrative that I was quickly able to go from image to image and sort by the scenes and all the things that I was able to do. So I'm very curious. Maybe you could even begin to cull and kind of do what you do, select some images. Yeah, what were your thoughts going through here?
It definitely looks very similar to narrative, which is
Mhm.
nice just because I'm used to it. But I like narrative kind of, there's always like little icons and stuff kind of covering the up close view, and it really annoys me. So I like the way that this looks better. It's just cleaner,
Okay.
in my opinion. But
One thing I'm noticing real quick as you're culling, so you have the two film strips, the bottom and the top, and as you're going from left to right, it is skipping the group. So you're kind of just
oh,
selecting
I
that
see.
first image. If you press the up key, yeah, there you go, and then you
I
go
can
right
go
into
through.
that second, yeah, and then go through. So, you did mention keepers. So, like, what about that feature that you really enjoy?
I just think it would be really helpful, specifically for when I'm calling on a wedding day, to be able to,
Hmm.
I don't know, put the slider at like 30 images, and then
Hmm.
out of those, pull my like 5 or 6 that I
Hmm.
send to the couple. Because before I was having to cull through like like there was not a way for me to just have them
Yeah.
pull a little bit. So I think that would be great. I know like the artistic side of what it might keep versus what I would keep might not be super accurate with AI.
Hmm.
So I would cull through like every single photo myself before, like I would never just pull their keepers, but
Yeah.
for like on a wedding day, I think that that would be super helpful.
What is your culling process? I see you're just marking everything with the 1 star. Do you utilize all the different stars or utilize the color filters? How does that work for you?
I like having my left hand marking and my right hand moving the photos. So I
Hmm.
always just do the 1 star when I'm doing a loose cull, and then
Hmm.
when I do that, I mean, when I use Lightroom and I do my second cull in Lightroom, I do the 5 star, and then I like separate it like that. But that's just because it's what's comfortable for my hands. I don't really have
Nice.
a super great reason for it.
Okay. Okay. And you find like kind of similar experience right now with Polar Next, comfortable in the hands.
Yeah, very simple and the same as Lightroom. So
Okay. Awesome. Man, these are gorgeous. I'm like looking at these and I'm like, okay, I need to do this pose at my next wedding. I love that.
yeah, this is a great couple. They were like so natural with the camera. So
Yeah.
that helped a lot for sure.
And so you kind of talked about like tags and things like that. Do you pay any mind to the tags that are assigned, or you just go straight with what you see in front of you?
I just go with what's there. I don't really use anything else. I just do like the stars and that's it.
One thing that has been coming up lately in a lot of the interviews I've been doing is, the creativity versus the AI's, measurabilities, like with the face, the lighting, the focus.
Mm-hmm.
Sure, like it has that ability to be able to assign a rating to it, but would you care if Polar Next had the ability to identify those blurry images and then to even be able to sort through them to see them? Just because like for me, I do intentional blurry stuff. Like, do you do that kind of?
I do, and I'm curious to see because I do have a lot of motion blur later in
Hmm.
this gallery. I'm curious to see if it kept any of them.
Hmm.
Um, but I think it would be interesting to see. I know it's hard because it's AI, so like
Hmm.
we might think something is really cool blurry, and it might be like
Hmm.
rating the focus really poorly. Um, but I don't know. I feel like that's just dependent on the gallery.
Yeah, man, this is a great
But
looking bridal party, by the way. Like they look like they're just having so much fun, and I really like that pose that you had them in. Like they're all spaced out good.
I just was curious when you said the blurry stuff because I right here I don't know how do I get out of keepers. So I just click it.
Yeah. So the filter down below, yeah, you just
Oh,
click it. There you
there
go.
we go. I had a lot of intentional, well, like
Oh, there you go.
intentionally blurry, and it didn't keep any of them. So like this whole
Okay.
scene is pretty much gone. So that is something that's interesting to me
Yeah.
with the AI, that it wouldn't
Okay.
keep anything. So
Well, look at that. Look at all those faces. I don't think I've ever
mhm.
seen that many faces.
Yeah,
And I don't even know if that's every single person. It could be. We don't have to
I
count, but
I like a lot how the red, like the dots, I can immediately tell that people's eyes are closed. I don't have to like go in and like
uh-huh.
zoom in and look at everyone. So that
Uh-huh.
is really nice to have these here.
If you close this and then try and find an image where it might be a little bit darker than usual. Okay, that one's not bad. Um, Go ahead and at the top, click that sun icon and just click and hold it.
This right here. Oh, wow.
So it applies like an auto exposure temporarily, so you can see like, okay, if I
What it would
bring up
be.
the shadows and stuff, can I recover it well and stuff? Do you feel like that's one of those
Interesting.
features where it's like, huh?
Yeah, that's really cool to see how it and like what it auto does for you
Uh-huh.
because yeah, that's super helpful for lighting conditions like this. I wonder what it does on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and you can just hold the E key as well, so you don't have to like mouse up. You just quickly go through, quick little
Yeah,
auto exposure.
that's really cool actually. Quick question, do you know when it says like face, how it rates that? Is it like if their eyes are open, smiling, like do you know how it rates that?
Yes, so it is eyes. It is also so right now it's pulling these three faces, which is the dad, the bride. Mom's face is turned away, so it's not really recognizing, but auntie in the front row is hitting her, but it's like the face towards camera, I'm thinking. So it's like
Okay.
eyes and then like the face orientation too. Because if you do a photo where the bride is like looking down and away, it like emotionally creative is great. But I think like in a standard kind of thing, you want your subjects looking at the camera. So I
Yeah.
think that's where it kind of judges.
Okay. That's good
Yeah.
to know how it rates. Okay. And then doing create new style.
Yeah, let's do that. And we'll do advanced as well. Awesome. So right now it is processing and it is actually applying auto lighting white balance. And you can see that by the history on the left side. Just real quick for your awareness, if you want to turn it off, I usually just turn it off because what will happen is if you apply a preset right now, like if you try, go ahead and do that. Just apply that Abigail one or whichever. See, now it's processing. It's adding the preset, but it's also going to add a layer of auto and lighting white balance on top of that.
Okay.
So that may not
On all of
produce,
them.
yeah, it may not produce the look that you want. So if you want to turn that off, there's a gear at the bottom left that's for settings. And then you click editing and auto lighting and white balance is right there. You can
Okay.
switch
Oh,
that off.
perfect. So,
And then
and
when you
that'll
go,
do it for all of them.
no. So now it's off. And so what you can do is like when you go back down to the history, just click original and then start from there.
Okay. And do I just do that for all of or does it?
Yeah, yeah. And when you get there,
Okay.
so yeah, take us through like how would you edit this? And let's see if we can get it to your style, how close we can get to your style.
Yeah. So like I said, I don't use presets. So I just kind of go in and mess with things and see what I like.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I always turn like my highlights down, my blacks down. I always add some contrast.
Interesting. So what you kind of mentioned too about like having a button to apply auto. So like would a auto lighting and white balance button be kind of helpful for you to kind of click and preview?
I think I think it could be helpful, especially for instances like indoors, like that
Hmm.
specific photo I was like referencing. Something like
Hmm.
that could be cool just to see like how it brings up the light and then kind of going in from there. I don't
Hmm.
know that I would use it a ton for outdoor photos, but I would think I would use it a lot for indoor.
Okay. And having a button versus what I just showed you in the settings where it'll do it automatically, having that button just gives you the power to like pick and choose when and where to use it.
Yeah, for sure.
Cool, cool. Yeah, this is looking quite nice already. I like it. What do you try and go for when you're editing like this? I see you really touching on the HSL and the colors.
Yeah, I mean, in like something like this, I really just want to bring up the warmth and like bring down the highlights a little bit. It was a little bit of an interesting lighting,
Hmm.
like with where the sun was. So I use this a lot, and I think I really like Lightroom how it has like the color, and then you have the saturation and the hue and everything listed right there instead of having to like scroll to find each of those.
Yeah.
But and I think this one's maybe a little bit more touchy than Lightroom is, but I
Okay.
think that's just like a learning curve that I would have to kind of get used to. But
Yeah. Nice. Using that point color. Do
I
you
love a
use that?
point color.
You use that a lot in Lightroom as well?
I do. I This is like one of my favorite tools. But I think I like this one more than Lightroom as I've been using it the last week.
Hmm.
I think Polarr Next made me use it a lot more than I usually do. So
Interesting. Do you ever use that within masks?
I do. I usually do just do it in masks
Okay.
actually, but for this one, the color green isn't really in the subject, so I don't think I need
Yeah.
to be super particular. But if it was a skin tone or something, I would only do it in a mask of the subject. So
Perfect.
it really just depends. But
Yeah. And I do appreciate too and how you talk about how like things feel different or look different. And that's kind of just the reality when you go from program to program and stuff. And I feel like if you stick with it long enough, you'll find your way to that destination, even though maybe by a different route.
totally, yeah, it's definitely just like a little bit of a difference. But and then I usually just copy. Like I'm happy with this
Perfect.
edit. I usually just like copy and paste it and then
Yeah.
adjust from there.
Can
So
you show us the before and after there? Because you just pasted it. Yeah.
yeah, which
That
I
looks
like
so
that
good.
already. I would maybe like desaturate it a little bit, but
So as you continue editing, right now, Lauren is setting up her AI style. So this is where you want to put like some good effort into how you edit your image because as Lauren edits these, this is where you're going to mark them as a reference as well. And you can kind of see in the top right, yeah, there you go. There's that toggle. And then these are where the AI is going to learn from. Oh, that's a bad
that's not
subject
quite the
mask.
subject.
Oh man. Okay. Try again. Let's see.
Ooh.
Okay. Try background. What in
Huh.
the world? I wonder if it's yeah, that is so weird. Okay, try sky. Okay, sky
Interesting.
works. And yeah, that's so weird. Okay. That's good bugs to find and to fix on our end. But
Yeah.
if you go to another image, try that subject background mask again
Okay.
and see if it. Okay, look at that. So if you do subject, it's literally the people from the previous image,
Interesting. And like flipped. That's
right?
so weird.
Okay,
I wonder if
that's a
I
good
just go
bug.
back. Wonder what it'll do.
Sometimes though, in like my experience, see like sometimes it'll kind of like sort itself out. It may cut off.
Hmm.
You just brush it in where it's missing.
Yeah.
But yeah, definitely not something to be excused. But that's a good bug that we need to work on.
Yeah. I like how fast the math, I mean, like when it does work, it's like immediately there. There's just no buffering,
Yeah.
which is helpful because I feel like my brain works faster than Lightroom sometimes. So
Mm-hmm.
to
Mm-hmm.
have the speed is helpful.
Yeah.
Is there a way? Oh wait, there we go. Is there a way to see? Like I know there's this view where you can see the before and after. Is there any way that I could make this before image, say like this edited image or
Like a
something like that, where I
reference.
could see, yeah, because I know Lightroom does that and I use that a
Hmm.
lot.
Okay. We don't have that right now,
Okay.
but that is a feature. I agree. We don't have that reference, comparison. So I would love to have that. But this is good. This is why we do these interviews, because we want to be able to hear like what people use, what our users want, and what we need to build into this to really make it a strong program that people will have no problem switching over to. And then I just noticed you popping up some noise reduction on that. Did you shoot at higher ISO? Like, was it kind of like a more dimly lit scene?
Honestly, the lighting was pretty good here, so I don't know
Mhm.
what happened with my ISO. But I just kind of always use a base of noise reduction just to like make sure everything's smooth. But
Oh, okay.
I think my subjects are slightly out of focus in this, so
Okay.
I try to just smooth it over. But
Was that noise reduction pretty good? Was it like good enough?
I think it was probably about the same as the Lightroom noise reduction, but
Mhm.
I know we talked about this the last time we talked to you, but the denoise, the AI denoise on Lightroom is
Mhm.
a lot better. And I know you mentioned that might be coming to Polarr Next as well, but I do
Yeah.
use that sometimes, especially for indoor like dance photos. I use the denoise a lot. So
Mhm.
I'd have to test it on those like flash photos before I could really
All
like
right.
assess whether or not I liked it. But
And when you do these blurry ones, do you try to add noise to it, or you kind of like to leave it
usually
noiseless?
I'll usually add grain to my
Mhm.
blurry photos, just like a little bit of grain, which I can do now, actually. That's one thing I haven't done on Polarr Next yet.
Okay. Right there, effects.
I like that. That's like the same as Lightroom as far as these
Nice.
go.
What's also great, like aside from all the AI stuff, is just how the program works. And so far, like, have you experienced any lag or any sluggishness or anything like that?
No, I definitely feel like it's a lot faster than Lightroom, which is super appealing to me because I
Yeah.
like my brain works really fast. And so like even having these toggles move faster and like wait, I
Hmm.
like how it runs better. It just feels um I don't know, it feels faster than Lightroom, but
Hmm. Awesome. Well, there we go. All of them marked as a reference. We're good to go.
perfect. And then I just hit finish, right?
Yeah. Cool. So, real quick, could you switch to the grid view? Cool. I would love to see and like just hear your take. Like, how do you feel we're looking with consistency and exposure and stuff?
Yeah, I think the ones like I'm seeing the purple, like these all look like how the reference looks, like color
Hmm.
wise and everything so far. I think it maybe didn't quite pick up on all of the lighting conditions because I know like these couple here were in a pretty like harsh
Mm,
direct light versus and it was using this backlit photo
yeah,
as a reference. So I'm definitely noticing that, but that's I mean that's just because it's in different lighting.
very true.
But everything else so far looks how the references are. Obviously, like this one's in a very different lighting condition. So
Yeah,
just like little things like that where I would want to go in and change things, but I could just copy and paste to
yeah.
those few photos. So that doesn't.
Well, the cool thing is that like if you go all the way to the top, so like when you edit, do you usually like skip around or do you kind of go from left to right?
It depends
Okay.
on the gallery. Yeah.
All right. Well, cool thing is it's already done processing, which is like pretty fast. It was just 80, but still like, you're streaming your computer with me, sharing your camera. Like the other interview I had, it was like lagging a lot because oh no, the video call was lagging. Her computer was fine, but um if you want, let's go into some of those images, the ones that like you would correct, and then correct it and then mark it as a reference rather than copy and paste.
Okay.
because that's kind of the idea. Once we get here, because like setup, it's good to copy and paste, but now we're in the portion where you're kind of finishing off all the images. And once you're done adjusting it, hitting the M button or marking as reference, the AI is now being told, hey, like, let's keep training this and it will update all the similar images. And you can kind of compare it, like when you go into the history, you can kind of see the step-by-step process and just like double, confirm like, okay, I like where it went.
I like that it shows you immediately like what that's really helpful. Do you think that it didn't edit this one because it was locked? Is that my
correct? Yeah. So like when you went to the next one, yeah, there you go.
There we go. Okay. That's so nice. Okay.
So you're getting it. So like the logic is like if you were to go to like go to the next one over 270. One more.
Oh wait.
Yeah. So if you go to this one and just start adjusting it, you can see that it'll automatically lock right there.
Okay.
So like if you go to the next image and you adjust it and then you mark it as a reference, it's not going to touch the one previous.
Okay.
So just be aware of that. And then if you do unlock it, then it will update. But go ahead and just like maybe do a couple more that you would like adjust or change up.
Like this one.
There we go, masking.
Yeah, it's working now, so that's great. So if I mark this as a reference, it should.
Yeah, it did a couple I saw, but your computer is working so fast that like when it processes, it pops up and then it goes away.
Yeah,
because it's already finishing.
Oh wait.
Oh, there you go. I saw a couple.
When I unlocked it to make it a reference and it like deleted my edits. So I had it like here.
Yeah.
So is that just because I unlocked it so it updated with the AI?
Yeah.
Okay. So I need to leave it locked and then mark it.
Correct. Yeah. So once you start editing, it'll automatically lock it. And then what I usually do is I usually just mark everything that I like, because then the AI is going to keep learning from that. So you kind of turn it into a habit where when you're done editing, just hit the M key, mark it, and then because it's going to do its best to make sure it only updates the similar images. So you don't have to worry too much about it overdoing the ones you've just finished because they're locked. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, that updated perfectly for how I would do that.
That next one over. Perfect. And maybe like a couple more. I know there's like some down the way. Yeah, that one where it was really harsh. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah. Which it's using this because you can tell. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah, I like the color work that you're doing. Like that's definitely not something everyone does right off the bat, but it definitely takes like having that eye to like know how you want your greens.
Which I think comes from not using presets. I think that's just.
There you go, people. That's your sign. Stop using presets.
Presets are great. I'm sure they're great. I prefer to like see everything at once, and I don't know, but. Okay, and then if I mark this.
There you go.
Which I know it's two different angles, so the lighting is different again. So I'd probably want to.
I think that 511, that one will really have a much greater impact on the next two. Getting that bright light dialed in. There it
Yeah,
is.
that was so immediate too.
Yeah.
That it updated. That's crazy.
One more thing I'm curious. If we go to that group shot where the masking wasn't working, let's see if it works now.
Give us this one. Interesting.
There you go, people. I mean, it is
Interesting.
frustrating, and we shouldn't make excuses for the faults and like bugs and stuff because it is a bug. But like, we are in beta, so like if it's something isn't kind of working right, just kind of let it breathe, go through it, get back to it, try it again. Sometimes you
Yeah.
might even need to just refresh your browser window and or go out of the project, open the project back up if it's hanging up, things like that. So awesome.
Yeah. That's great. I like that it worked now because like if you can just wait it out, then that's
Mhm.
great.
Awesome. Well, I mean, you went from what did you have, like 10 references
Hmm.
to begin? So now we're up to 16. So, as you keep using Polarr Next, that's how it kind of is. Like you start with that foundation, kind of going from left to right. And then like as you get on with the wedding, you know, by the time like you're reaching half point, I find like the references are just really like nailing it now and like getting in that look dialed in. So,
Hmm.
um, okay, we're right at the time, so let's go ahead and switch over, and then we'll wrap this up. Lauren, how was your experience using it? Like, yeah, compared to your normal workflow.
Yeah, I really have liked using Polarr Next in this last week. And like obviously I still have more things to learn and all the features, but
Hmm.
it definitely has sped up how fast I've edited. Um, and yeah, it's just been really interesting to learn. So
Hmm. Okay, and let's talk any frustrations, any hangups, any missing features that would keep you jumping ship to Polarr Next.
Um, I think I was in Oregon last week, and so I normally edit on the plane ride,
Mm-hmm.
and Lightroom does have that offline capability to like
Mm,
download your galleries, and I just kind of assumed that Polarr Next did, and then it didn't. So that's one thing that I think would be super helpful for me at least, and that's one thing I really like about Lightroom. Um, Another thing, I know I mentioned the denoise earlier. I think that that would be another feature that would like really make me drawn to Polarr Next.
mm-hmm.
And then with that, the generative fill that Lightroom has started to use, I think that would be another, like those are the three main things that would
Mm-hmm.
um, like maybe still draw me to Lightroom. But
Mm-hmm.
then there's the pros of Polarr Next. So it's just give and take and like what your priority is. But
Yeah. Yeah. That's really good. How about those pros? What maybe like the standout things about your experience using Polarr Next?
yeah, definitely the light references. The advanced setup, I guess, the way that it pulls out the lighting conditions is such a game changer to me,
Mm-hmm.
especially for wedding days when there's like 10 or 12 different lighting conditions that you're working in. So that is one thing that I think I would definitely want to stick with Polarr Next because of. And then obviously the way that this updates and learns your style is such a game changer that
Mm-hmm.
like even though there's not maybe those other features, I think it's worth it to me to stick with Polarr Next.
That's really great to hear, honestly. Um, yeah, because I feel like with like Photoshop and stuff, there's definitely ways to like retouch and get those generative, you know, denoise and stuff, and it would be great to have those all in one program. So I will definitely take this feedback and bring it back to the team and just be like, hey, we gotta focus on these things because we're getting there for sure. Last year we've definitely come a long way when we didn't even have culling, and I was using Polarr Next and culling in other programs, bringing it into Polarr Next. So just like every step of the way. So it's really encouraging to hear you say that. So before we wrap up, any final thoughts or words, anything to photographers that may be interested in this program? Anything you'd want to say to them?
Um, I don't know. I think I covered it. I think the speed and then, yeah, those lighting conditions are really a game changer. So it's definitely worth a try. It's free to try. So
There we go. Perfect.
Yeah.
Well, Lauren, I appreciate you taking the time to sit down with me today, using Polarr Next over the week and continue using it. We would love to hear your feedback and hopefully connect with you again in a couple months or maybe even a year and just see if Polarr Next is still something that you've stuck with, if it's changed your workflow and all that good stuff. What do you think about that?
Yeah, that would be great. I'm excited to keep using it and learn all of the different features.
Awesome. Well, for those who sat down with us and watched all the way through, if you want to connect with Lauren, her Instagram and website is going to be in the description of this video. So definitely go check out her work and leave some likes on her posts. But other than that, Lauren, thank you so much for joining me today, and we'll catch up in the near future, right?
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
All right. You're welcome. Bye-bye. Thanks so much to Lauren for sharing her time and thoughts with us today. It was amazing getting a peek into her process and seeing how Polarr Next fits into her workflow. If you're curious to try it for yourself, you can sign up for a free Polarr Next account right now and receive 2,000 export credits. That's a $100 value, completely free, no strings attached. Just hit the link in the description and start exploring a faster, smarter way to edit.